we going to review the last episode of Neighbours?
Well, I've been watching my
James,
whole
we
life.
review content.
Didn't Guy Pearce come on it?
Guy Pearce,
Yeah.
Margot Robbie, Kylie Minogue,
I love
Jason
that.
Donovan. They all came
It's
back.
got quite the alumni.
Yeah, it's like a school. Everyone's sort of matriculated through and graduated on to other bigger things.
I
Some
don't.
not.
I don't feel like Corrie and EastEnders have the same success rate.
I think EastEnders has not a great history of people, but then Himesh Patel from who was in Yesterday,
Yes,
and Tenet. In like one scene. Well, no, he came in for like the sequence, the big plane sequence, which is great.
Yeah,
And then I was like, good on you.
This is
your
one
career's-
shot where him, Arpats, and what's his face are like in the middle of a square, and the camera's just revolving around.
John
them
David
in
Washington,
IMAX.
yeah.
John David Washington. I'll never forget. I was a researcher in TV, and I had been assigned a guest who was on to promote Corrie, and I had to, in the space of 2 days, maybe, go through the storyline of Coronation Street. George, you have never ever gone through something that's so much. It's kind of like what the MCU is going to turn into. Like when something's existed for so many years, so much has happened. Everyone's been pregnant. Everyone's cheated.
Everyone's died and come back to life.
There's been like money that's been stolen back and stolen back again. And like I've never been so scared to be like, I don't think I can do this. I can't break this down. I had a briefs that's supposed to be like 2 pages long, unless they're really good. I had a brief that was like 5 pages of A4, and I was like, I cannot condense this.
What, 50 years of storylines and
Forget about 50 years, like recent stuff and the number of characters. But anyway, it was just completely out of my depth.
No, just to answer my own question there, but we won't be reviewing.
No.
We haven't ever watched Neighbours. I remember the theme tune. That's when neighbours become. Do you remember that?
I think I remember watching Neighbours in my grandma's flat in her kitchen with a little kitchen TV, just as a really young kid.
Yeah.
And and just anything that was on, you were watching.
What's weird is now when you see soaps like Neighbours, which have very high production values, and like the cameras are super because they've been going for so long. Now the cameras they're using are actually like very good.
Yeah.
And like Casualty now, if you watch Casualty, is like really well shot. I don't watch Casualty, but whenever I've caught it, I'm like, oh, they're shooting this like it doesn't look like a soap anymore. It's like now because cameras have got so good.
Yeah, you don't know.
They actually look pretty slick.
Yeah, TV used to have really grainy, noisy cameras. If you watch early noughties shows, they're quite cheap. You can tell. It's like, that's not a nice camera.
The lighting, you're like, ooh, it's a bit cold.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not doing that. What did you want to say?
I will catch a clip on YouTube.
Yes, sure. I'll catch a highlight clip. Guy Pearce, Margot Robbie.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
I have a feeling that Black Adam is the most exciting film that could have come out in 2003.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
It's in the Morbius school of pretending that like we haven't modernized storytelling with comic books and superheroes.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Just contextualize Black Adam for our listeners, because I also thought you were about to say Blackadder, and I got really confused.
No, love Blackadder.
Yeah.
Black Adam, DC project starring The Rock, and its trailer came out recently. I think there's another one from SDCC, but I looked
That's
at
Comic-Con for people.
Sorry, Comic-Con, yeah, San Diego Comic-Con, the big Comic-Con. And I looked at this trailer and I was just like, there is not a single element of this that says it's doing something original, different. Like, let's just remember, there have been like 35 superhero films in the last however many years, depending on how you count them.
14, 15 years,
Yeah. Like, that just did nothing for me.
Yeah.
And then I watched the Black Panther 2 trailer.
Yes.
And I thought, brilliant.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I know exactly, I know nothing of what that film's about.
Yeah.
But I'm so interested. The whole thing was just about emotions, exchanges, interactions between people. Setting
imagery,
a tone.
brilliant imagery, yeah. I totally agree. So if you, Black Adam is this superhero origin story with The Rock.
cheesy.
I mean, you said 2003. I mean, I was going to, it's the same ballpark, but when I watched it, I was like, oh, I guess we're in 2008 again then. Where
2008.
very blue and orange.
Yes.
Right? And very like two-tone film. There's serious talking, even though the setting is quite silly.
Yeah.
And then really incomprehensible action. And just like, the trailer's very like, I'm here to do this. Dun, 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 dun.
I was raised as a slave, but now I have power.
Yeah.
I just like, there's not a single element of that where I go, oh, that could be.
No.
Or the action looks.
I think it's like someone discovered an old file on the computer that was how they used to make trailers, an old template, and they were like, oh, we haven't used this in a while. We could just do that, drop it in there. We can get it ready for Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
And even The Rock. I'm not anti-Rock.
No, I like
I
The
watched
Rock.
him in Jungle Cruise, and he was so charming. And I was like, yeah, it's a success to you, sir. You can carry a swashbuckling adventure.
Yeah.
Could not get me to watch Black Adam.
Because it looks like it's they've put him in this vehicle and it's sucked all the charm and personality and everything, and he could be any sort of big, bald, muscly man.
I reckon we've got a really average script, average concept. Look, I haven't seen it. It could be amazing. Yeah. Just preface it. It could be amazing. But I reckon we've got a really average thing that we need to do. What if we got the biggest star in the world to be in it? Surely that will get bums on seats, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, Black Adam trailer looked very kind of, two-tone, like I said. But I'm not saying I need it to be crammed full of humour, because conversely, I also watched the Shazam 2 trailer, and I was like, oh, God, stop with the crowbarred humour, please, for the love of God. Equally silly premise.
So much.
Right, lazy. It's just lazy on both fronts, right? I didn't enjoy that. A couple of other good trailers came out of San Diego Comic-Con, though, which by the time people are listening to this, San Diego Comic-Con would have been out for a while, so hopefully people have had a chance to see some of the trailers. I watched the Dungeons and Dragons trailer. You ever been a Dungeons?
I didn't see this. No.
Are you a D&D guy?
I'm not a D&D guy.
I've never D&D'd it. The most I know about D&D is all from Stranger Things.
It sounds fun.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good time.
I think if you and I were had time and went and started to do it, we would love it.
Because I like long 200-hour RPGs that I play on PlayStation, where I put oils on my blade to kill the right monster, and I go on little side quests. So it's not like it's completely beyond the realm of me getting involved.
And we also like a touch of the theatrics, James.
Yes.
And I think that would be in there with the storytelling.
Oh yeah, you and I just be
And look, what's this?
I cast my spells to defend myself.
So I watched the trailer for it, and it's got Chris Pine as the main cast, and Regé-Jean Page, and Hugh Grant as the main villain. And look, I know they've been trying to make a Dungeons and Dragons film for 20 years.
Really? Okay.
And I saw it, and I was like, again, lots of disposable CGI nonsense, but I have no attachment to this IP. I have no attachment to this franchise. No, I would say it's got a swashbuckling vibe to it that you could very broadly say it's kind of Guardians of the Galaxy. We're kind of they're thieves in it. They're playing thieves, but they've done something bad. So they're trying to anyway. But I realised watching it that even though I have no connection to this IP, I will watch Chris Pine in most things.
He does a lot of swashbuckling. He swashes his bucks.
He is. He's a I'm going to do this. And I'm going to great voice.
Yeah.
Great eyes. Great hair. But great presence. A really good presence. Yeah. And in this, he's kind of playing a bad but good.
They're doing another Star Trek. I've heard murmurings. They're rumors that Star Trek 4 is in development.
It would be nice.
Yeah,
but they're all going to look a lot older.
Yeah.
I mean, that was 6 years ago the last one came out.
I'd rather pretend the third one didn't happen and just go, no, this is Star Trek 3.
Yeah.
I wish because we reboot everything as a society. I wish we could almost just pretend things didn't happen as well.
Retcon them. Just that's not canon anymore.
That was a mistake. What were we thinking? This is Star Trek 3.
I also saw the trailer for She-Hulk. Did you watch that?
Yeah. Attorney at Law.
Attorney at Law. And I'm thinking, great, Better Call Saul spin-off. Here we go. And look, I think it's the over CGI that's really bugging me. I like the Hulk. When the Hulk turns into the Hulk, when Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk, he's a big guy, and he you accept the CGI because he doesn't look like a person. But this one, she looks like a human, just green, and CGI green. But Gamora's practical effects.
Yes.
But this is CGI green. She's a little bit enhanced,
a little bit thicker,
and I'm like, no. And then when they brought Tim Roth into it, I was like, really? You're going to reach back 14 years to bloody Incredible Hulk when we had a different actor playing Bruce Banner? No one remembers that. Really?
How do you feel about the fourth wall breaking thing? Because that is, in the comics, that's what She-Hulk does. Then she breaks through, and that's what makes her innovative.
I'll give it a go. I'm open to it if they pull it off. Nothing wrong with the fourth wall break.
Almost Deadpool.
You really have to be careful, though, with the fourth wall break.
Yeah.
You can do it well. You can do a Fleabag.
Sense of urgency in your eyes is amazing.
You can do a Ferris Bueller, or you can do a Deadpool. Kind of works. Fleabag doesn't always work in Fleabag.
Okay.
But if she does it, the thing is, the kind of cheekiness of a fourth wall break doesn't really go hand in hand with the cheekiness of a fourth wall break doesn't really go hand in hand with the kind of corporate massive beast of Marvel pulling all the strings. You know what I'm saying?
It's amazing that we can have one entity, Disney, Marvel, I want to say, or even DC, this entity of comic book movies can release a number of trailers in the space of a few days, and there's some of them I go, wow, look where we've come. Look at this incredible story we can tell. Look, isn't it fun to be 30 episodes into this really expensive TV show with everything that I know going into that, and it's saying so little, but I'm so in. And then there's so many times over the years where I'm like, there's too much.
Yeah.
There's too much.
I am saturated.
That's enough now. It's just, I feel like the people cutting the trailers are almost like, doing the 1000th day at work. They just know how to get the same beats, doing the thing, comedy there, reduced piano theme, boom, done. They all team up at the end.
Money shot.
Yeah.
Legacy actors coming back for the big.
It sounds very cynical. Look, we've done a fair amount of Marvel comic book stuff in the last few weeks, and we're gonna do it now. Just have to do it again because we can't not address this news. But strap in, and then surely we'll give the Marvel stuff a rest.
Yeah.
So, George, as we said, we had just gone through and very diligently addressed all the directors of the MCU. We did it in 2 parts. Please go back and listen to them if you haven't. George basically went through all the directors of the MCU, talked about the projects they'd done before, what they'd done in the MCU, how the sort of machine of Marvel had affected it, and what they've done afterwards, basically. Yeah. And I think about a day before we put that episode out, San Diego Comic-Con happened. Kevin Feige, the overlord of everything comic books, stood out on the infamous Hall H, which is the biggest hall they've got there, and basically laid out the next 3-4 years of films. And I think one of the things I think has been a recurring point that you and I have made when we've talked about Doctor Strange and when we've talked about Spider-Man No Way Home, and what's the other one that's just come out? Thor Love and Thunder, was that fine, enjoyable, maybe not so much in some cases. We don't know where we're going. Yeah. We don't have much to hang on to. I feel like this is a bit rudderless. And I feel like they must have known that because they announced a lot.
And very far ahead to keep us on track, to keep us in line. Just want to say as well, I know we did just spend 2 episodes focusing on Marvel. We would have liked to focus on other stuff, but
I know.
They bloody went and did all these announcements. We're like, we have to kind of talk about it. So because they'll be coming out in cinemas for the next few years, and we'll be reviewing them.
And I feel like it would almost be wrong for us to say, they don't know where they're going, without addressing the fact that we now have a sense, and I think it would be good for us to react to it.
Let's look at the slate.
We will rest the comic book stuff soon. We will have other things.
Our correspondence next week is going to be like, what is the MCU? I've never heard of it.
What is that?
You didn't actually clarify?
Yeah. So I just want to go over some broad statements that were made. So we're currently in Phase 4, right? And he announced the end of Phase 4, everything in Phase 5, and early parts of Phase 6.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. He announced all of Phase 6, but there are still some films to be announced in Phase 6.
He announced the end of Phase 6, the beginning of it, and left some bits in the middle.
Left some bits in the middle, because we're getting quite far in the future. And then he also clarified that Phase 4 began with the Disney Plus series of WandaVision, which sort of, again, grounds us in our timeline here.
Yes.
And just some notes on some statements that Kevin Feige made, which I think are interesting. He discussed what led him to announce this many projects that span such a long time. And he said the studio is, quote, in a slightly different rhythm now. And he sort of credited the presence of Disney Plus enabling them to do more projects in fewer years, which I think is interesting, because that has definitely changed the game for them, really. Like, there's a lot more different stories to be seen. Yeah. We'll discuss what's coming up. And he said that, usually they would cap off the end of a phase with an Avengers film, but now they need to let people know that that's not necessarily going to happen, and here's why. Lovely. So let's just go for the first film that's going to be. I'm going to do it in order of release. Okay. So they started off with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which is the first film that we're going to get, and that had a lovely tribute to Chadwick Boseman, who passed away in 2020 very sadly, and obviously the film is going to have to address him not being in it. But so it's Ryan Coogler is back directing. We got this trailer, which we already mentioned before. Thought it was brilliant. I thought, really. I don't want to reiterate what I said, but it didn't tell me anything about the plot. It was just moments, exchanges, looks, definitely processing the grief. And I was like, this looks and sounds brilliant.
You know what it is? To use that really common phrase, it was a vibe. It was a certain mood. It was a certain tone. And I wasn't someone who was massively all over the first Black Panther. But this one I was like, I'll be there for this.
And the reduced Kendrick theme coming in the end, everything is going to be all right. That was fantastic. And so Ryan Coogler is returning. Martin Freeman is back as the white guy.
Yes, the token white guy.
Yeah.
I would just say as well, I think it's going to be interesting. I know you said it was going to obviously be written in and dealing with the fact that Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa is no longer in there. I think, a cynical person would say, they probably started production on this film and then had to take a massive direction change because he died. But actually, this might work out really interestingly in that there have been films before that, in the face of very challenging circumstances and tragedies, have had to change their course, but have actually ended up then as like an interesting creative challenge, have produced something very different that wouldn't necessarily have happened. So they were on a certain track with Black Panther 2.
Yes.
Chadwick Boseman sadly dies, and then they then have to completely rewrite it. And what you actually might get as an end result is something that might be even more innovative and more creative and more exciting.
And the emotional beats that are happening on screen are very much more informed now by what we know. Like the death of Paul Walker for Fast and Furious 7 could have so easily gone really wrong.
Yeah.
But in a Fast and Furious film, that ending felt great.
Never even seen the film, but I've seen the ending. And I love
you've seen the ending. Yeah, you get it. And that could so easily have not gone well, done well. But that's like one of the most played songs in the world.
Yeah,
that plays
Charlie Puth.
Charlie Puth. Michaela Cole's back. Angela Bassett. Letitia Wright as Shuri, who's very heavily rumored to be the new Black Panther in suit.
Michaela Cole wasn't in the first one though, I don't think.
Was she not?
No, I don't think.
I swear she was. No.
No.
And then you've got Dominique Thorne is going to be in as Ironheart.
Yes,
and there's a specific shot in the trailer where they're smacking a piece of iron in the shape of a heart, because Ironheart is going to be a series later. So we're going to be introduced to that character in that film, and it will just go on. But yeah, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That is coming out in November 11th this year. Good stuff.
Great.
Now we're going to start with Phase 5. So that will mark the end of Phase 4. And this is going to begin in the 17th of February next year, so 2023. And the first one is going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Right.
Peyton Reed is returning to direct after having done the first two, as we know. You've got Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly returning, Michael Douglas. And now here's where I get a bit confused. On the Google list of cast involved, I've got Jonathan Majors as Kang, because I think we're going to start getting him back. Right. Sam L. Jackson, Jim Carrey, Bill Murray. Did I miss something about who's in? Firstly, Jim Carrey's a lie, said he was retired. We had to process his entire career on this show. Yeah. And then Bill Murray.
Why not?
Yeah. Samuel Jackson, I get.
He's been in the other ones. Yeah. Well, maybe it's all just like smoke and mirrors. Who knows? But
is that like I just spoiled a cameo that's not meant to be revealed yet?
But then if it's on Google, it's like, you are doing some very amateur sleuthing to uncover what might be a veiled secret. Like,
the biggest post-credit scene ever.
I think and Michelle Pfeiffer will be back in it too. Yes. Look, Ant-Man Quantumania, I like it when they indulge their kind of psychedelic, kind of crazy side of them. Like they did with Doctor Strange a little bit, and Quantumania, that sounds fun. I liked the first Ant-Man and the Wasp. I found a little bit
so I've completely forgotten about it.
Exactly. And this one seems a bit okay.
And you got Kang in it. And
yes,
we'll talk about the Avengers film later, but
was the villain revealed. Wasn't even a villain necessarily. He was just the main sort of central figure revealed at the end of Loki as being at the center of the time.
He had a scene that was like the architect in the Matrix.
But I liked that scene. Some people didn't like it, but I liked it.
It doesn't make any sense the first time you watch it.
Jonathan Majors is a good actor. He was in this film called The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which is really odd, very, very unique and distinct the way it's told. But he's really playful in it and really interesting and funny. And I remember watching him thinking
he's
wow.
He's good at Loki as well.
Yeah.
He had a weird, unsettling energy.
Yeah. Which I like.
But I like that they will sort of reintroduce him into the films.
I would have thought I'd see him in an Ant-Man film.
No, that's the first Ant-Man film where I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
Jim Carrey and Bill Murray. So next up in spring 2023, we've got Secret Invasion.
Right.
A project which is going to be Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury with Ben Mendelsohn as Talos the Skrull.
Yes.
What film was it where it was a post-credit scene? Captain Marvel.
Wait, say that again?
There was a film where in the post-credit scene you realised it wasn't Nick Fury, it was a Skrull version.
That was Spider-Man Far From Home, the second one.
Right.
Which I didn't like at all because I was like, are you telling me this character that we've been through the whole time that walks like Nick Fury and acts like him and thinks like him, it's just been hiding under a mask? No.
Anyway, he was off-world in some other place, and I think that is where we're going to be. Kobe Smulders back as Maria Hill.
Okay.
She's a character that just is still hanging around. She was in Infinity War and Endgame, wasn't it? She had a couple of scenes.
She was in the funeral at Endgame. That's what she was. She stood at the funeral.
Was she not in the beginning of Endgame when Black Widow was really depressed, Skype calling Rocket?
No, because she disappears. Remember at the end of Infinity War, she gets turned into a Hoover. She gets hoovered up into dust.
Kobe Smulders did an interview where she said, "quote This is a darker show. We're going to get deeper into the characters. We're going to see them in new ways, and it's going to be an exciting thriller. And you're never going to know who people are. Are they a Skrull? Are they human? It's going to be a bit of a guessing game."
Brilliant. Okay, well, sure, I believe it when I see it.
And then we've also got Kingsley Ben Adir, Emilia Clarke, and Olivia Colman.
Okay.
Joining the fight.
All right. Okay. Believe it when I see it, but sure.
lot to be discovered there. Next up in May 5th, 2023. So pretty much call that spring, basically. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Right, so yeah.
James Gunn is back. They showed a trailer in that hall, but I don't think the public have been allowed to see it. Did you manage to find it?
No. I think they're vigilant on people not filming it.
Quite significant. James Gunn is back after having been sort of fired and then rehired after controversies. And he's very open to announce that this is the end of the story. He said, "This is the end. I'm sorry. Some stories have an end. It doesn't mean everybody dies." You've got Chris Pratt returning, Karen Gillan, Zoe Saldana, Vin Diesel, Dave Bautista, Bradley Cooper, Sylvester Stallone, Pom Clementif. Among the new faces are Maria Baklava, Cosmic Space Dog, and Will Poulter, who is going to be playing Adam Warlock, if that means anything to you.
I think he's the antagonist of that thing. Cool. Yeah, I guess they have to stop Guardians at some point. It's expensive to have
that many people.
Yeah, an ensemble cast going through. I look forward to that. Loved Guardians 1, bit lukewarm on Guardians 2.
Same.
Let's just see where it balances out. And I kind of enjoyed the Suicide Squad. It'd be nice if Guardians 3. No, it's not. I was going to say, it'd be nice if Guardians 3 could get a little bit bloody, but it's quite family-friendly, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I'm interested to see how they address the whole past version of Gamora interacting with modern Star-Lord.
Because also by that point, the audiences will be like, that's like 4 years ago we were last thinking about that. Like, you need to bring us up to speed pretty quickly.
When the Guardians turned up in Thor: Love and Thunder, Gamora wasn't there.
Yeah, I know, because remember, she's off. She went off.
Where did she go?
At the end of Endgame, after all the big battles, she went off. She disappeared, and they were looking for her.
I quite like the idea of Star-Lord having to re-convince her to fall in love with him again. That could be quite cute.
Also, what's obviously happening now, as you kind of touched upon, is the mix between series and films. Oh, this Secret Awakening, it was Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion.
That's a series. Guardians 3, that's a film. This is why my slight problem with Marvel is at the moment. It's this disruption, and I find it harder to get a cleaner narrative and a cleaner through point because you're constantly changing the pace and format and tone.
I need a part-time job to keep up with all this.
Yeah, but it's harder to, I think, for the things to coexist, because I think a TV show has a different feel and tone and universe to that of a film, because you're spending longer, which means the storylines are written differently, which means the characters are written differently, which means the dialogue is differently, which means the scenes are constructed differently, which means all of that, and then you try and tell me that it's in the same universe. It doesn't always gel.
I thought Guardians would work as a TV show because it's sort of got that gang element.
Yeah, kind of
different
like
planets
Monster
every
of the Week.
Yeah. Next up, with no date, but summer 23, we've got Echo. Now, I didn't watch Hawkeye, neither did you, but this is going to be the Disney Plus.
The first episode, and I went, okay, that's enough, thank you.
And I just did, for some reason, never got back to it. I queued it up on a plane. I was like, I'm going to watch Hawkeye on this plane, and I got bored. It's going to focus on the character of Maya Lopez, a.k.a. Echo, the deaf amputee heroine played by Alaqua Cox in the series Hawkeye. And then what's interesting about this one, if there is something, is Vincent D'Onofrio will be seen as Wilson Fisk, a.k.a. the Kingpin, in the Daredevil show,
and
which is going to be coming out.
And Hawkeye. He was in the first Daredevil show, then he came in and he was in Hawkeye.
Right.
Then he came and he's going to be in Echo, right?
Oh, I didn't know he was in Hawkeye.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then he's going to be in that.
Echo, so you'll also have Charlie Cox coming back as Matt Murdock, Daredevil.
Do I need to see it? This is the thing, there's a lot of them now. I want to know, I want it to be like A-side and B-sides of a when you used to get a vinyl, A-side and B-side. Yeah. The films are all A tracks. You have to listen to all those. And all the TV shows are like B-sides. They're there for you to enjoy, but they're not essential. They're the side quests of the whole thing.
Well, like WandaVision, I know you needed a bit of context for Doctor Strange 2, but a lot of that is not, you don't need that to continue your story. It's a wonderful, beautiful, experimental piece of television. It's not essential viewing, though.
No. Carry on.
Next up, in the 28th of July, 2023. So 2023 is like chock-a-block.
I think they're making up for the time of the pandemic, and also just like they're just realizing that they have everyone's attention, and they're just like,
let's just keep going before people build it. You've got The Marvels, the story of The Marvels, which will focus on the character Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, played by Brie Larson, and then Kamala Khan from this Marvel, which I haven't seen, but I've heard solid things about.
Right.
I hear it's a very different tone.
Okay.
But Kamala Khan's a cool character.
And Monica Rambeau.
Yes.
From WandaVision, because she just got powers at the end because she walked through the filter and she was like, oh, well, look at that.
comic books. The film will be directed by Nia DaCosta, who directed Candyman and Little Woods, which I've not seen.
I haven't seen the most recent Candyman, but I actually really want to.
I heard it was good.
That Miss Marvel, I'm sorry, not Miss Marvel, The Marvels. That's going to be a show, right?
No, a film.
Are you sure?
It's going to be a film.
Okay, interesting. So I find it interesting that
I
they
know what you
haven't
mean,
given... It's not Captain Marvel 2. Because Captain Marvel 2 came out, and everyone, as we talked about last week, was like, oh, that's fine. And also, I feel like...
Captain Marvel 1 came out.
Sorry. Yeah, Captain Marvel 1. And I feel like there was some beef about Brie Larson. I feel like Brie Larson didn't gel with the machine of Marvel. And there's
we don't know. We don't know.
I don't know. I'm not saying anything, but I've been pushed on YouTube a lot of videos being like awkward Brie Larson in interview.
So many, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, and it's hard. Like they really try and like pull out her body language and stuff, which is just like a bit malicious and like, come on, like whatever. And we're not here to comment on that, but it's interesting that they've then pivoted to make it like an ensemble film. Than
is it ensemble?
It's called The Marvels, plural.
But how many? I guess
there's 3 of them. There's 3 Marvels in there.
It's true. It's true.
Anyway, next.
Too powerful for me.
Yeah.
Next up, in summer 23, no release date, Loki season 2.
Looking forward to that. So, really enjoyed the first
Me too. So I think that's one of the more anticipated Disney Plus shows. They've given no information, just that Loki, Tom Hiddleston is back, and Sophia Di Martino, who played Sylvie, is going to be back.
Just an interesting thing on that, when Kevin Feige was doing his announcement, if you watch the video, he obviously went out title by title. When he said Loki season 2, everyone was like, ah! And obviously, as we talked about before, captive audience, right? So they are invested anyway. They are Marvel fans.
He's preaching to the choir.
But when he said, we've had a great time in Phase 4, introduced you to such characters as so-and-so, and the Eternals, it was like,
crickets.
Just like the warmest of lukewarm. Loki season 2.
Is it better to have like a few people being very lukewarm than one person at the back being like, yeah, like everyone else going? They've given no information, but I'm kind of happy to know very little of that going in. Then we got a bit of a break till 3rd of November 23. We've got Blade. Yes. So Blade is sort of been it was very ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But when did Blade come out?
Blade 1, I want to say like either 1999 or 2001, like that, like
really early.
Turn of the century.
It was post-Matrix, spandex,
leather,
blades, vampires, very sexy nightclub violence scenes.
And it's like you get that and X-Men and Spider-Man out of the gate at the turn of the century.
First gen.
Right, yeah.
Well,
there you
go.
Superman. There's like first generation like Marvel proper stuff. Because DC Batman and stuff been around. But this is like I've never seen any of the Wesley Snipes Blades.
I think I've had it on as a kid in the background, but I do not know details of Blades. But
but Mahershala Ali, love Mahershala Ali.
Oscar winner Mahershala Ali is picking up the Blades.
He's a half vampire. No, he's not picking up the Blade. He's called Blade.
I know, that's why he also uses blades. That's why
I'm so sorry.
I was trying to be really sort of presentery. But he was teased at the end in a post-credit scene of Eternals. I
saw that earlier. That was lost on me. Is that the bit with Kit Harington with the sword?
I think so, yeah.
Because he's not the Harry Styles bit at the end of Eternals.
No, there were 2.
Yeah, I know. So there's a bit with Kit Harington and the sword, and it like wobbles or something, and someone goes, "I wouldn't do that." Are you trying to tell me that was?
I think so, yes.
This is my problem. If I have to be told that, what's the point?
I think I had to know when I was like, did you know about the scenes? And then someone was like, oh, it's a Blade reference. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. But that is Blade, which is going to be directed by Bassam Tariq, who most recently directed Mogul Mowgli, Ghosts of Sugarland, These Birds Walk. I've not seen any of them.
I have seen Mogul Mowgli, which is an interesting film with Riz Ahmed, which came out almost basically the exact same time as Sound of Metal.
And then coming in fall 23, circling back on Black Panther, the Ironheart series.
Right.
So whatever character we're introduced to in Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, Ironheart will come out from that. The series is about Riri Williams, a 15-year-old tech wizard who creates her own armor suit and becomes Ironheart. Right. She's seen as the heir to Tony Stark in the MCU. Interesting. Williams will be played by Dominique Thorne. But Thorne will make her debut character in Black Panther. Yeah, and then just reiterating the teaser of Black Panther, you had the hammering of the heart showing that there's an iron heart. This was an interesting one, which I thought was quite cool.
We're still in Phase 5 here, right?
We are still in Phase 5.
Crikey.
We've got Agatha, Coven of Chaos, coming winter 23/24, so probably over Christmas into New Year's.
Yeah. Look, I love Catherine Hahn.
Can do no wrong.
I absolutely adore her. When I heard that they were putting that out, a spin-off from her character who was in WandaVision,
Yes.
who I assume is going to be a throwback to when she was in like the Salem.
Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, when she was in the Salem witch trials, whatever. I did just think, really, a spin-off of a spin-off. Are you going to cut off every single? It's like botany. It's like they're cutting off every single like spawning leaf of every show. Then
You
growing
get
new
a
tree.
show, yeah.
And I'm like, couldn't it just be left at that? Am I really invested enough in this character? When's that coming out? The date's going to
Winter 23, 24. So
winter
December,
23
January.
for a character you saw in like spring, winter 21.
Yeah.
Really?
I think it was interesting how much Catherine Hahn got rediscovered through that show.
Yeah.
She's been around for ages.
We talked about her with the underrated actors episode.
Yes, we did.
Love her.
So it was formerly titled...
Go watch Private Life again, I'm just saying to people.
Oh, yeah. It was formerly titled Agatha House of Harkness, but it's now been given a new title.
Coven of Chaos sounds better.
Yeah, and they said the spin-off was announced in 2021 following positive reception of the character from fans. So there you go. We've then got an untitled Marvel movie in this space, which the details are yet to be revealed about. It's going to be released in February 16th, 2024. Right, keep with me because we're going quite far in the future now. So meaning that this will be in Phase 5. There's rumors that this is
X-Men,
Deadpool, or Spider-Man, because in this list there's no Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like, you know, the home trilogy is clearly sort of done, but I don't think they want to get rid of Tom Holland.
No.
And I have a feeling when there's an Avengers level threat, you're not going to not have Spider-Man in that.
Sure.
My first thought for what you do with Spider-Man after No Way Home, spoilers for No Way Home, when he has to make everyone forget who he is, and he promises to, it's a beautiful scene, where he promises to MJ, like, I will come back, I will force you to remember who I am, and then in the end he goes and finds him in the cafe and decides to not decide. So you've got this interesting thing where Spider-Man is now going to have to start completely from scratch. I almost want to pick up with Peter Parker 6 years later as a grown-up adult, pick up Tom Holland 6-7 years later as a grown-up adult, and you do, because they've not done that whole side of it, you do grown-up Spider-Man.
Let him go away off screen for a bit.
Yes, rest him.
Yes.
So I don't know, this might not be a Spider-Man film, that's just my theory, but I think it's a weird omission in this catalogue. There's a lot of contract stuff they need to figure out with Sony, isn't there?
It'd also be nice if they could bring in like a Miles Morales, like a Spider-Man from a different background who's maybe like, who's been inspired by Tom Holland's Spider-Man. No, he wouldn't have any memory of him. What am I talking about? But like,
that's the thing, But maybe if Spider-Man never existed in this new world, a new version of that Spider-Man could exist.
Maybe. They're not going to do
the Insomniac Marvel games has shown that you can recently do an amazing Miles Morales story that stands up as well as any Spider-Man does. So I'd be very, very keen to see that. So that's just a big unknown. Deadpool could be cool. That'd be a way for them to introduce X-Men.
Right,
because he's a bit of a crossover.
I'm wondering, does the disruptive tone of Deadpool work in the MCU, in the Marvel world?
I don't know how you have a sense of gravitas where Deadpool's just going to be like...
Also, like, nothing is worse than like studio-sanctioned silliness. When like, you know, Deadpool was great because he could go out and do whatever he wanted. Fox didn't give a shit. It's like,
he didn't need permission.
Yeah, he was like, and he was poking fun at everything. But it's like, imagine doing that, and then the Marvel execs then they go, "That's great, but we're just gonna rewrite all your jokes."
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because he talks about how like Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy played the same character, but have even in X-Men, he like referenced like the producers of the film, which it could be too much. Then in spring 2024, Daredevil Born Again. So this is going to be a big series featuring
18-part season,
18 episodes marking... Oh, my computer's freaking out. 18 episodes marking Charlie Cox coming back as Matt Murdock. Obviously, he did a great little scene in No Way Home.
Yeah, and
Vincent
I think he's teased in...
Daredevil, who's making an appearance in She-Hulk, which is out in a few weeks.
Yep.
That's going to be... He's back. He got cancelled. He had a Netflix show before before Disney Plus existed, right? And now he's back with an 18-part series, which I've not seen.
Massive.
When's the last time?
Though, as well, for Charlie Cox, because he probably was like, "Oh, great, I'm Daredevil. Oh, I've been cancelled. Oh, wait, I'm back." And like, they're serious about it. They're bringing me in. Cameo in No Way Home, as you said, and now like 18-part series with
Must be loving life. How much Daredevil did you watch?
None. I've not seen any. I've not even seen the Ben Affleck one.
Oh, the Ben. Oh, what do I think of the? I don't know what I think of.
I don't think people think of it highly.
You had Colin Farrell, who was Bullseye, who would throw knives, and then you'd get it, and you'd go Bullseye, because he had a bullseye on his forehead.
Wow. They really didn't know what they were doing with superhero films. 20 years ago, did they?
No, they really didn't. Next up, after Daredevil, in May 3rd of 2024, still with me.
Is this still Phase 5?
This is still Phase 5.
Are you sure?
Yes, because yes. We've got Captain America, New World Order.
Right. And that's now who, isn't it?
This is so from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You've got Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson, who at the end of that series was like he kind of was at the end of Endgame, but was like re-crowned as Captain America. This is going to be a film directed by Julius Onar, who directed the couple of Cloverfield films, Cloverfield Paradox and 2017 Cloverfield, Luce or Luce, and the Girl Is in Trouble. I've not seen. I think I've seen some.
I heard the Cloverfield Paradox was really bad. Did you like 10 Cloverfield Lane?
Yes, I thought that was fine.
That.
Yeah.
Really solid. Not loved it. Solid.
Yeah.
And then they did Cloverfield Paradox, and everyone was like, "Well, there goes that idea."
And this is one of the bigger moments of the Kevin Feige announce-a-thon. But yeah, this is the first time Anthony Mackie will be helming a film on the big screen
as Captain America. I
thought Captain America and the Winter Soldier was a little bit dry. Well, you and I have talked about how much we enjoy Sebastian Stan as an actor. Yeah. And I've since seen Sebastian Stan do some really exciting and energetic acting. But in Captain America Winter Soldier, the character of Bucky is a little bit dull.
A little bit. He's completely dull. He's got no personality. He's a banter black hole. He's just nothing.
Banter black hole.
He's just like, what a thankless role to be in from Sebastian Stan's point of view. So that's why I didn't watch that series. It looked so dry.
There was a great therapy scene with Bucky and a therapist, which sounds boring as I explain it. But yeah, just a shame. How do you feel about Anthony Mackie being Captain America?
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I almost wish they could just
Next up, don't know what this is, Thunderbolts, July 26th, 2024.
Right.
So this is featuring a band of Marvel supervillains causing mayhem. This was actually announced last month, but the officially titled Thunderbolts says that Phase 5 will conclude with this film. Okay. We don't know much about it, but it's, as I said, several supervillains coming together. The most famous of them is formed by Baron Zemo, which Daniel Bruhl played in Civil War and in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, who had a bit of a character turn in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He became a comical character.
Is he be bad again, is he?
I think it will be like bad good. It will be like a I've got no idea. Suicide Squad, maybe. It's good to be bad. And that'll be directed by Jake Schreier, who directed a couple of films, but he did Paper Towns with
Cara Delevingne.
I'm sorry I don't have a more recent.
Alex Groff? I always forget.
Yeah, one of them. The guy who's in.
Well, which one was in Hereditary?
Hereditary.
Which one? I think it was Alex Groff was in Hereditary. I think it was Nick Groff was in...
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway.
One of the Groffs. So that's Phase 5. Packed phase.
God, I mean, exhausted. I mean, that's... And what date did we go up to
So
there?
that Thunderbolts takes us up to July 26th, 2024.
Crikey, okay. Well, you say that, actually...
2 years.
That's not 2 years, is not that far away.
That's a lot of films.
But that's a lot of content to get through in that time.
Basically, every 2 to 4 months, we've got a Marvel thing or a TV show.
My God.
That's a lot.
The press circus of Marvel must just like never end. It's just like they are always promoting
the next one. Yeah.
Okay.
Then into Phase 6, where we don't know much.
Well, this was also the big thing at Comic-Con, where like typically they would announce one phase at a time, right?
Yeah.
And this is what we were saying earlier about like clearly to keep people on the hook, because they were like, we want to stay involved, stay online. They said we're going to give you Phase 6 as well, right? Summer Phase 6. Oh my God!
So when Apple's like, we're going to show you one more thing. The new Apple Watch. So the first film of Phase 6 will be Fantastic Four, which is going to be released on the 8th of November, 2024. Right. This was sort of unexpected, but also a little bit expected, because no one knows where Fantastic Four is. But spoilers for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, we saw an iteration of John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic.
Which had been like a fan favorite online for ages, right?
Yes.
I think even you and I talked about it before. I mean, everyone knows that the Marvel had the rights to Fantastic Four, so everyone's been talking about it. I think it'd be great if, I don't want to see their origin story. I don't need to see them going into a reactor, right?
Yeah.
I think it'd be nice if it's like a bit, not like The Incredibles, but like they're on the run. And they're under secret identity, a bit like witness protection.
Yeah,
they're living under witness protection, and then they're slowly being hunted. And I'd like the idea of like that balance between there being a normal family, but then they also have these like powers and maybe.
Well, this whole thing with Kang and multiverses and tears through time, like they could, and Reed Richards is the scientist who does all that kind of stuff. They could burst through any scene and kind of be there. But yeah, exactly what you said. Kevin Feige explained that the Fantastic Four film will be a story we've never seen before. Quote, a lot of people know this origin story. A lot of people know the basics. How do we take that and bring something that they've never seen before? And just to reiterate, we've seen 2 iterations of Fantastic Four on film. We've got the original ones with Johan Griffin and Jessica Alba and Jamie. Is it No, sorry, that was another one.
And Chris Evans.
And
Michael Chiklis from The Shield.
Yes.
Right?
And then you got Fan Four Stick,
which is meant I've never seen, but I know you told me about it. It's meant to be awful. Right? Absolutely awful. Huge production problems on that. Reshoots.
First 20-30 minutes is like normal film, and then it just completely falls apart. Yeah. Second half especially.
The only good thing to come out of Fan Four Stick was that Jamie Bell met Kate Mara and they got married.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that literally is the only good thing. Yeah.
Next.
They get divorced then. And that is all. I mean, look, Phase 6 is fairly spotty, but what they did announce, he basically had this big black screen and then 2 A's, Avengers logos threw up. So we're going to get Avengers 5 and 6. The first one is going to be, following Fantastic Four, will be Avengers The Kang Dynasty on the 2nd of May, 2025. Okay, so we're going a year ahead now. And then, only 6 months later, we're going to get Avengers Secret Wars on the 7th of November, 2025.
They're doing it in the same year.
Same year. Because remember, Infinity War and Endgame, we had a year apart.
I wouldn't be surprised if that changes. I would be surprised if Secret Wars gets slipped into the next year. Yeah.
You don't think they want to keep the iron hot and just go like, we're still here, see it?
Keep the iron hot. They've just pumping us for the content for 15 years.
They've been slow roasting us. Yeah.
But again, because of the balance sheets, they probably want. We've budgeted it for this now, so we can't push it into next quarter. That is mad. That it's going to be 2 in 1 year. We have no clues on plot at all, I assume. But obviously,
Kang Dynasty.
So Kang will be the big villain now. But interesting that it's not finishing with Kang. Well, I would say Dynasty, by the way. You said Dynasty.
Dynasty.
I would say Dynasty. Dynasty sounds a bit trashy, like that show Dynasty. Remember?
Dynasty Warriors. I don't know. Okay.
Anyway, Kang Dynasty, and then you have Secret Wars.
I wonder how, because look, an Avengers project for Marvel at this stage represents a $2 to $3 billion payout, doesn't it? It's a $500 million cost, give or take, and you print money. But I wonder how you are going to create a sense of threat and scale that is going to feel big enough to justify its existence, but different enough from what we had before. Because Thanos wanting to erase 50% of everyone in the entire universe is about as big as it gets.
Well, we should say that when Kevin Feige announced that last bit with the Avengers thing, he said this is the culmination of what we're now calling the multiverse saga.
Multiverse saga.
So the other one was the Infinity Saga, and this is the multiverse saga. And I first thought that seems a little post-rationalized for me. That's a little bit like we didn't really know where we were going.
Along.
Let's just we're doing, it's all planned. Don't worry about it. It's all planned. It's multiverse saga. Oh, we knew the whole time. Look, the Infinity Saga was from 2008 to 2019. That's 11 years. I know you could say that the Infinity stuff only started to come into it with the Avengers, right, in 2012. Sure. Right? But please, they were building it from 2008.
No, sorry, you're right.
No, because you've got the Iron Man arc and everything, right? You're telling me now, so this multiverse has been from WandaVision 2021, 4 years.
That's why they need to get a move on and get Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
So they're building in this narrative now for 4 years, but like the fact that it took 11 years before was what made it so good. It justified its payoff. But this feels.
But we get more movies in the same amount of time.
But you still need time. But the breathing time between those projects that has been lost now is you
need people on podcasts to discuss theories for years, and you need comments and reaction videos.
We've just lost loads of episodes because of them. And also, I think what's interesting is like when we said, okay, there's going to be an Avengers film in 3 years. What's the lineup going to be? We kind of knew who would be turning up.
Yeah,
in the Avengers.
Guardians will find a way.
So this is like Fantastic Four, maybe X-Men, maybe Spider-Man.
Well, that was what I was going to say. Big gaps in this, as I said, was Spider-Man and then X-Men.
Do you think they need to start killing off more characters as well?
Killing off more characters? Does that sort of mean that everyone's going to be in for the fight? Therefore, there's no sense of threat for any of the films. Well, they're not going to die because I know they've got to fight in the end.
Well, there's an alternate version of them in another reality that we can just pull through.
It's like, does Thor have a place in Avengers 5 and 6?
Maybe,
do you know what I mean?
Maybe that's where he goes. You know, like Avengers Endgame ended with Iron Man dead, Captain America back in time, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the next Avengers will end with
Thor dying.
And that's the end of him. And to be fair, if he does 14 years as Thor, Chris Hemsworth staying in shape for that long.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Incredible. But like maybe that'll be it. Maybe he'll be like, that's my time to hang up my hammer.
He'll come in Avengers 5 and die at the end. Yeah. He'll be like, the thing is, you know how...
Also, I think the same about Mark Ruffalo. They're like the senior year.
Yeah.
the other two have graduated.
Now the new class need to come in.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're like, the format of Infinity War was that they lost at the end of that film, and the Endgame was trying to get it back, and that's why it worked, because you can't have them win twice.
Sure.
Are they going to? They're obviously not going to do that again. Where do we find ourselves? Is it going to be more? Maybe the reason they're doing it 6 months apart is because it's going to feel less like 2 films and more
part 1, part 2.
A big part 1.
Didn't The Matrix, Reloaded, and Revolutions, they came out in the same year as well, I think, didn't they?
I think they did.
And maybe even Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Maybe a year apart, but it could have been.
I mean, that's what happened with Infinity War and Endgame, basically just under a year apart. But if they do it in the same year, same calendar year, interesting.
Maybe there's a reason for that. It could end like a Hobbit film or a Lord of the Rings film, like just.
Would you love it, like if it's like Kevin Feige is like absolutely like burning through all the ideas he has, and it ends as soon as like Avengers: Secret Wars is released. It ends with him being like handcuffed by the IRS and like he's bankrupt. He's like used all the money, and it's just like that's it. The Kevin Feige era's over. He's put into a cab, bundled away. It's like what? But Kevin, what happens now? It's like
I'll reboot Iron Man. Just drags him out of the cinema. His nails scratching on the floor. Demons from hell, like clawing him down.
People just standing in like Hall H, like not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if that joke makes any sense. It's in my head.
It's just like ideas as robots and beefers.
So
there you go. I mean, look, if you were ever in a place to say that there's too much comic book content, it's not going anywhere, at least for the next 3 years confirmed. How do you feel about that many films? And that's not all of them, but how does that make you feel about the projects, about the characters, the heroes?
It doesn't thrill me with massive confidence. Like, I also...
It's like what
bloated.
there it is.
Less is more. I mean, obviously they're a money-making machine. They got to do business, and I'd like to stick with it. I'd like to see where it goes. But like, there was a real, they did really well with the previous saga, and they managed to land it. Will they do that with this one?
What Marvel projects so far haven't you seen? Hawkeye?
Yes.
Miss Marvel?
Yes.
Some Daredevil, but I don't know how you count that.
No, let's not count that. I won't watch She-Hulk probably. Like, I'm just not because I don't want to, but it's just too much now. Yeah. It was one thing to ask me to go to the cinema every 3 months to see, or 4 times a year to see a Marvel film. Now it's like, you still have to do that, but you also have to, dedicate your week to this
TV show's time commitment.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to need people to either write into the show or in person, my friends, have to be like, oh, no, She-Hulk, it's great. No, give it a chance.
Exactly.
I'm going to have to
really argue for it because time is precious.
Well, there you go. That was just a breakdown of the SDCC announce-a-thon that our overlord Kevin Feige gave to us. I'd love to hear what you thought. If you had any impressions of what you think might happen or any theories about what that untitled film is, please write in to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com and we'll read it on the show. That's the only thing we're going to do that's comic book stuff for the next few weeks.
We're done now for Marvel. We've given them enough plug. That's it. Okay. We're ready.
Genius. They get all the airtime.
Yeah. Next week, we say this next week, Kevin Feige sat right here.
On the show.
Kevin,
so great to have you.
Oh my God. Yes.
All right, George, let's go through some of the emails that we got this week. If you want to write in the show, you can do by emailing hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. Please write in with your questions, your thoughts, your queries, your ideas for segments, and we'll read them out.
And I just want to say at this point, I mean, I haven't, but maybe I should say this after we read these out.
Sorry.
But like, we really do enjoy having your emails come into the show.
It's the best.
It really does keep us going, and we love hearing from you. And it's kind of like why we do it. We want to have a debate, want to hear people coming up with. So just thank you. Keep them coming.
This first one is from Ollie. All right, lads, really enjoying the proper, decent podcast. Saw you talk about your favorite Disney films and was curious of your favorite animated films in general. Some of my personal favorites would be Your Name, Howl's Moving Castle, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, as well as many of the classic Disney films such as Ratatouille. Interested in your takes. All the best, Ollie.
I mean, that's a whole episode right there.
It's a whole episode.
Do that as an episode?
No, let's just continue.
Let's have a discussion about it now. Well, hard to know, but I know that I'd like to come out with a lot more grown-up answers, like
not really thought about
it. Bashir, which I haven't seen, or Persepolis, but Into the Spider-Verse,
so
love
good.
Love
that's getting a sequel as well, rightly so.
I mean, Pixar also love, of course.
Ratatouille.
What's your favourite Pixar?
I really
film?
like Incredibles 1. It feels really grown up for a film that's family oriented. It's not a child's film, but it's like it feels like it's meant to be for children, but it actually feels quite It's like about an adult relationship that's falling apart, but also you have to bring it back together.
I think Monsters Inc.'s pretty great.
Yeah. Oh my God, the Monsters University was such a bad step for that.
Oh yeah. Well, what an uninteresting take on that thing.
Just completely uninteresting.
But when I think about Monsters Inc. now, I think of like how it felt with Boo when he finds the scrap at the door and.
Scientists who like study quantum theory, that's a really accurate way to describe.
We've been doing this podcast a length of time
I've
now.
heard every
one
of your opinions 3 times.
I mean, Finding Nemo. Oh God, I don't even know where to start.
Finding Nemo's great.
Yeah, and Toy Story's great. And Toy Story 2's great. Toy Story 3's great.
Does Shrek 1 hold up?
Digitally or
no, I'd say it probably is aged in the visual effects realm.
The thing is, I've seen Shrek so many times; it's almost beyond me being able to comprehend properly.
You've probably not seen it for 10 years.
Yeah,
I remember Shrek sweeping through my primary school and everyone being like, "You got to see Shrek," and I was like, "What is a Shrek?"
I know, but
and then
I vividly remember going to see that. 7 years old. I told this before, where it was out in the cinema for so long that it was like about to come out in Blockbuster, and it was still in the cinema.
Like, you were like, "How is this possible?"
Yeah, it like caught up with its.
How did they bring the film over to Blockbuster? They need time to print it out and wind.
Somebody once told me,
They just stick their pinky in the VHS and like rotate it.
No. Anyway, I'd be here stuttering and mumbling all day about what my favourite animation is, but we'll get back to you.
We'll get back to you. That's a great episode idea. This one's from Tom. Hey, I love the pod and the takes you have on a lot of films.
Thank you,
the one
Tom.
thing I wanted to find out is, do you guys have a film that you know the layman would find poor, but you love it? Love the pod. Keep doing what you're doing. Love, Tom.
Interesting question.
So the layman would find poor,
so
but you love
average, it. Like your average man on the street wouldn't enjoy, but us. Maybe if you're a seasoned film watcher would enjoy. Okay, let's try and refine this. Is there a film that like you've had to convince very, very, very casual film watchers to be like, no, it is actually really good, and it's not me being a snobbish film like Anorak here. Like I genuinely do think this is good.
Have you got one that comes to mind?
No, I mean probably loads, but like. Because that is kind of our life, trying to convince people that actually...
No, this is good.
This is actually good, and it doesn't take a degree in film to understand this.
It's more someone hasn't seen something and it might not be appealing to them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, give it a chance.
Yes.
It might look like this, but actually it's great, but I can't think of one that comes to mind.
It's a bit like what we did with the underrated ones when we said like, we said like Deepwater Horizon looks like this kind of film, but it's actually this kind of film.
Do you remember when we talked about how The Tree of Life has this phenomenon of being the #1 film on a lot of listicles online?
Yeah.
And how that actually might be quite an unappealing Terrence Malick film that you could roll your eyes at.
Yeah.
But if you gave it a chance and you're in the right state of mind and you're kind of okay with a dinosaur drinking water from a stream for 80 seconds, maybe you can enjoy it.
I think that's the answer.
Because a lot of my friends would be like, that's really pretentious. This is slow.
Oh yeah,
boring.
on paper. It's a hard sell.
What's it about? It's vignettes through time with the family, childhood, formative experiences.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad film if you... That's the thing. It's more films that haven't been given a chance.
If you're open to it, if you just open your arms to Tree of Life, you'll love it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Good question.
Really good question.
Nugget of an idea in there.
Yeah. Daniel's just said, hi, Pulp. As if like that's
your Pulp.
First name.
George Pulp and James Kitchen.
Loving the podcast, finding myself on Wednesdays and Fridays. Keep checking Spotify and YouTube to see if you've uploaded a new episode
That's
yet.
a true fan.
That is, they know when we upload.
Salute you, sir.
I love that. With streaming services taking over, gone are the channel flicking to find something to watch. I'm imagining this being read in 1930 as read. With the streaming services taking over, gone are the channel flicking to find something to watch. Hitler's troops march through the Rhine. That's the
it is.
When the old people used to go to the cinema and you would just
Pathé News,
looking to find something to watch. And with this technique, I've stumbled across a few movies I may have not watched if I did. Just wondered if there are any movies you've accidentally stumbled across that you love. I have 3: Tremors with Kevin Bacon, Battle Royale, Everybody Wants Some. And that's from Daniel.
That is a really interesting question. I do think I see what you mean. That idea of like flicking through,
because we've lost that.
We have lost that. The only equivalent is flicking through the carousel on Netflix and seeing the preview and going, "Oh, maybe I'll give that." A go. But it's not the same as catching a film halfway through and sticking with it.
Catching the second half of it.
I can't remember ever doing that, because I also think that if I flicked through and I saw a bit of a film that I thought this looks interesting, I would stop. Look at look up in the TV guide what it is, and then try and watch it from the beginning, because I don't like watching things halfway through. But I think on a similar vein, the cousin of that idea is like basically what random film have you just seen? Like,
Yeah.
do you ever have that when you're like, I've seen like a really random film? And I think I've got one or two answers for that. There's a film I watched called, what's it called? Miracle Mile, right?
Okay.
No, I don't expect it. I read an article on it. I read a DVD re-release article on it in like Empire, like 5 years ago maybe, or maybe it was even Sight and Sound. I can't remember. And I remember thinking, huh? What? That sounds crazy. And then I added it to my watch list on Letterboxd, forgot all about it. One time I'm on Netflix and I'm sitting, what do I watch tonight? And I'm going through my watch list and I find this film Miracle Mile. I'm like, what's that? And I Google it and it says, it's on Netflix. I was like, really? This is a random film. And I put it on just to contextualize why this film is random.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have anyone famous in it. It's got Goose from Top Gun.
Right.
It's made in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years after Top Gun. And Anthony Edwards is in Los Angeles, right? And it's really, really high concept, weird film, right?
Yeah.
And quite low budget. He is in Los Angeles. He's on his own. I think he's in like a band, and he's playing in a band and like a brass band, and he like strikes up a friendship with this woman who's like watching him, right? And
Yeah.
they have this chemistry, and they like hang out together, and they have really, really good fun. And they agree to meet later at this diner, right?
Okay.
And he goes away. This is so strange. He goes away and goes back to his apartment. He decides to sleep a little bit before meeting her that evening, right? Stay with me. Okay, stay with me.
I'm with you.
Outside the building, someone's smoking a cigarette, drops the cigarette, a pigeon swoops down, picks up the cigarette, takes it to its nest, where it starts a fire, where the fire spreads and sets off the
Final Destination.
Yeah, sets off the the electrics next to the telephone pole and just disconnect. It creates a power cut in the building, right? And obviously, because it's the 80s, his alarm cuts out, whatever, boom. So he wakes up like 6 hours later. He wakes up like near midnight, and he's missed the whole day, right? He sees the clock. He's like, oh no! So he like races across down to this diner, right?
Yeah.
I can't. This is such a weird film, and he's there, and it's like all neon-y, and you've got these like just weird typesets. It's like the dead hour at this diner.
Yeah.
And he's got this girl's number, and there's a guy I think in the phone booth. Oh no, forget that. There's a phone booth outside, and he's waiting to like call her or something. But the phone rings in the phone booth, and he answers it. Because he thinks it's her. I think he's made the call in the phone. Anyway, stay with me, please. Stay with me. Okay. He answers it, and it's like a young guy, a young soldier, being like, "Dad, it's all kicking off. It's coming, man. They're coming. The missiles, they're coming." And he's basically saying, "You've got to get undercover now. The missiles are coming. We haven't got enough time." And then Anthony Edwards is like, what do you mean? And then the soldier realizes he's misplaced the call. He's placed the call to the wrong thing. He's called a fucking telephone booth. And he's like, oh no. So Anthony Edwards has just heard that the missiles have launched, right? World War III is about to happen. And it's like, what do I do? And then he decides to go and find the woman, right? Find the woman. He sort of knows where she lives. And then there's this like, it all takes place over one night. Stay with me.
I'm with you.
And he like commandeers a vehicle. There's weird bits like this, and like he's got to try and get his apartment. So he meets her. He's trying to convince her. There's a bunch of old people in it. There's a bit where like there's a.
It's like you describing a dream.
I know. That's what it feels like. And all the meantime, I'm watching it like, okay. And then there's a bit of the petrol station where someone gets set on fire with petrol. There's police shoot people, and then there's a car goes through a shop window, and all the while it's like slowly getting lighter and lighter, and you're getting closer and closer to morning. You're realizing you're getting closer and closer to these fucking missiles coming, right? And apologies for swearing. And you're like, where is this going? And then in the last act, in the third act, it just gets so crazy with the imminent dread and threat of these missiles about to hit that like I'm like carnage, like looting, like just crazy stuff, mania, complete mania. Anyway, and then it goes on and kind of ends eventually, right? But it is filmed with such confidence and a belief in what it wants to do.
I like that. It's filmed with confidence.
Yeah, and such a weirdly specific film that I have to say, especially in that third act when people are going crazy, you do get this like oddly palpable sense of like, oh my God, what would you do if you knew it was coming? And people would just be freaking out. It does unlock something. There's actually this really good tracking shot where he's like, basically this riot kicks off because people are going mad. and he's like crawling under these. It's a traffic jam of cars. He's like crawling under the cars, and you get this cam shot. You've got like people falling down dead next to him. You see people scuffing, fighting, bottles smashing, and I'm like, huh? And that's not even the end of the film. Anyway, so now cut to the present. That is a film that I've never heard anyone talk about.
No, never heard of it.
I've never seen mentioned anywhere else ever again. I don't even think it's on Netflix anymore. And sometimes I will just think, that was a random film I watched.
Yeah.
That was a really random film.
You saw it through.
I saw it, and I've got... what can I do with that film now? It's in my head. Nothing.
It's like the end of Titanic when Jack only exists in the mind of Rose. It's
Right.
like, because he died on the ship and he had no family, like, and everyone else from Titanic is dead.
Sure.
Like, one day you will be on your deathbed and that film will only exist with you. And you were like, it exists only in my memory now. And you'll have to pass it on to your great-grandchildren in the way you have for me. Yeah.
It's bonkers. It's not bad. If people do get a chance to see it, watch it for just
I'm sure a lot of people are sold.
Just how weird, and I hope I haven't given away too much, but just how weirdly specific and niche and bizarre and just the whole thing is. I don't think the director made another film. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, to answer that is probably the most random thing, equivalent maybe to flicking through a channel.
Jesus Christ. I usually find the process of flicking through the carousel of Netflix fairly unrewarding.
Yes.
And it usually, like, the typical thing is there's everything here, but nothing I fancy watching. There is one film which I did end up watching, which I'm just going to check the title of because I can't remember. So I was flicking through Netflix once, and I came across this film called Observe and Report with Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
It is a 2009 Seth Rogen film that is sort of pre him being famous, but also like as he's properly coming up.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing this film on Netflix and being like, Seth Rogen, Observe Report? Yeah. I've never heard of it.
Plays a mall
He plays a mall cop, but like very weird incel-y cop. And I remember being like, this is just a Seth Rogen film that I've not heard of, not seen. And it's like, it wasn't that, at the time, it wasn't that old. And I was like, oh, what, Seth Rogen film? Watched it. It's not funny. I didn't laugh, but it is just this slow film that I would never have, it had that phenomenon of it was on, therefore I watched it. Yeah. I was confronted with it, and I was like, Seth Rogen's funny. And then I'll watch that. And just, this must have been... I
remember this film. I've not seen it, but I know it because it came out at the same time as another film which I haven't seen. I don't want to see, which is Paul Blart
with Kevin James.
Who would have thought 2 films about a mall cop?
I bet they were all just furious when they realised the other one was coming out.
They made Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 as well.
Yes, they did. They did.
Anyway, there
anyone
you go,
can vouch for ish. It's a fairly mixed reaction to the Netflix carousel. I think overall it's not great. This one is for Oscar writes into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. He says, hello, guys. Hope all is well. At the beginning of your...
Things are well, thank you, Oscar. I hope things are well with you too.
Yeah, it's fine. It's been good. At the beginning of your most recent episode, George was praising Copenhagen and Denmark. Being half Danish and visiting my grandparents in Copenhagen this summer, I couldn't help but have a smile on my face. I was wondering what you have seen and think of Danish cinema. I like the film wave of Dogma 95 and directors like Thomas Vinterberg and Lars von Trier. I was also wondering if you have watched Thomas Vinterberg's Another Round with Mads Mikkelsen. I've heard it's great. A personal favourite of mine. I've been loving the podcast for a while now. Keep up the great work, from Oscar.
Thank you, Oscar.
This is a current theme where people are like, do you love the cinema of that one country you
went to for 3 days? Well, funny enough, I don't know a lot of Danish cinema, but I have seen one Lars von Trier film and I have seen one Thomas Vinterberg film.
Yes.
I haven't seen Another Round. Like you, I've heard it's
I've heard it's brilliant.
So I really need to catch up. The Lars von Trier film I've seen is Melancholia. Have you seen that?
I've seen bits of it.
Right, because that came out in the same year as The Tree of Life, and it was like the other cosmic math thing. The premise of Melancholia, a bit funny actually, talking off the back of Miracle Mile about like imminent, total, existential destruction, right? Yeah. In that, Melancholia is... the story, it's all set at a wedding. It begins with the wedding. Kirsten Dunst is getting married to Kiefer Sutherland, right? And Charlotte Gainsbourg, I think, is her sister. And
Charlotte Gainsbourg's in a lot of Lars von Trier films.
Yes, yeah, like. And the premise is basically there's a collision. Earth is on a collision course with a meteor, I think it is, or maybe it's even another planet, or like it's on a collision course with something, and it's like the backdrop to this like very doomed. Domestic drama that's happening on Earth, and at first they're like, "Oh, it might not happen. It might, it's just sort of like it's like an omen in the sky." And meanwhile, Kirsten Dunst is having this wedding and this marriage, and it's just not going right. Oh, and Alexander Skarsgård is in it. It's the first time I saw him, and she's great.
Not Stellan.
No, Alexander.
Alexander.
And Kirsten Dunst is fantastic in it, and she sort of slips into this very sort of catatonic depression. And the second half of the film is really more about Charlotte Gainsbourg. And I like the fact that Kiefer Sutherland is just a supporting character in it, just quite a famous actor, just being used in a way. But I remember, I remember really getting that sense of dread and really being engaged with it. And it's dark and it's strange. And you get these, a bit like in the Tree of Life, you cut to these massive CGI shots of planets smashing into each other. And then you cut to domestic level, drama. Very interesting. Worth watching. Fantastic poster where Kirsten Dunst is it's a bit like that pre-Raphaelite painting, Ophelia in the pond, with the water, right? Yeah. Wonderful. So that's quite cool. And then I haven't seen another round, but I saw Thomas Vinterberg's other film called The Hunt. Have you ever seen that with Mads Mikkelsen?
No, I've also heard that's great.
Really good. So The Hunt is about this sort of Danish town, quiet, polite, nice town, where Mads Mikkelsen is a teacher, and he gets mistakenly accused for, I can't remember if it's either just being a paedophile or if it's actually for molesting a young girl at his school. And you get this really claustrophobic, cringing, awful, uncomfortable witch hunt against this very good, very innocent man. And it all takes place at Christmas, and there's a scene where he walks into the church and the community is, and he's innocent, but it's, and there's a reason why the child mistakenly attributed something bad happening to him. Something else very different happens with the child that you can understand, in the child's mind has accidentally placed it with him, because the child is 4, I want to say. And it's really well done, very uncomfortable. And I actually, just hearing myself describe it, I think I need to go and watch another round now, because The Hunt was really something.
You've just mentioning Lars von Trier, you've completely reminded me of the 2 Lars von Trier films I've seen. I've seen a bit of Melancholia. I've seen Nymphomaniacs Volume 1 and 2.
Wow, really?
Which are an experience.
Yeah.
And then even more further is Antichrist,
yeah,
with Willem Dafoe and also Charlotte Gainsbourg. Just on Antichrist, I think I was far too young, and I don't probably understand Lars von Trier films at the best of times. Let alone this film. It's probably the most disturbing film I've ever seen. This might get cut, but there is a scene where Charlotte Gainsbourg opens her leg, gets a pair of scissors, and cuts off her clitoris live on camera. And I think 16-year-old James was not ready to be processing that, because I thought horror, whatever. Willem Dafoe just being Willem Dafoe and being weird and doing his thing. And then Nymphomaniac is a film that has specific mini parts of it which are really well done, and I feel like those could be part of another really great film.
Right.
The problem is that you've done 2 2-hour films, which I feel like could have easily been condensed into one better film. You got Jamie Bell's in it, Stellan Skarsgård's in it.
Random cast, like Christian Slater.
It's about this woman who is processing the grief of who she is as an outsider and her father dying, and she uses sex with strangers to kind of process that. It's a lot of whispery voiceovers of, I used to like to walk in the woods to find the way the leaves and the trees would move. I like to think of myself as a tree. And then in the end, there's like a tree that she finds, and her. Like, I'm really not doing this justice. And if someone was to tell me you really just didn't get it, I'd be like, probably, and maybe I just didn't get it. But there are specific interactions where she describes types of men that she engages with, and she compares it to, this sounds really pretentious, but I think this actually works. She compares it to the works of like Bach and Mozart and Beethoven, and the ways in which they move matches with the music. And when certain things happened, all of these things layer on top of each other, and the visual matches the audio, and it's quite cool. And she describes one of the men that she's sleeping with as, when you open the door, he behaves like a cat, where when a cat scratches on the door and you open it, it doesn't just run in like a dog. It will stand there like it's got all the time in the world. So there was this slightly poetic element of it, but at the same time, I don't think the point of the film was accurately being captured in the time it takes to do it. And I don't think he knew where he was going with this. I could be completely wrong. I've just thought about this for the first time in years, but the other films you mentioned, I'd love to see. I can't recommend you go out and see volumes 1 and 2 of Nymphomaniac.
I know he also, with Nymphomaniac 1 and 2, I remember that having a very, very iconic kind of poster campaign where it was all of the cast shirtless and topless.
Oh yes, there was.
All reaching the point of climax in a picture.
In a bed.
Do you remember? No, not in a bed. It was like the top half of them, and it was like them gurning in like the moment.
Yes, which doesn't make sense for the tone of the film. That is to sell seats. And there's another one which was just a very promiscuously looking orchid.
Oh, yes.
And then like brackets, like just all these things that we use to mean like genitalia. God, what a tangent.
Wow. Well, thank you, Oscar. All from going to Copenhagen.
All from going to Copenhagen. This next one is from Ella. Ella writes into the show and says, "Hi, James and George. I'm absolutely loving your stuff. Keep up the great work.
Oh, thanks, Ella.
Especially your film reviews, which are fantastic. I really enjoy both of your insights. You both sound like you've been doing this for 20 years. Ella,
well, I mean,
thank you so
that's
much.
Very kind. I mean,
I wanted to ask a slightly technical but hopefully relevant question because I have a feeling you guys will know the answer. In your Top Gun Maverick review, you mentioned that it was one of the better IMAX presentations you had seen. What makes a good IMAX experience and what does that mean? I'm also based in the UK and I'm having to wait another week before I can go and see Jordan Peele's new film, Nope. I've seen a bunch of BTS promotional videos on how the film was shot on IMAX. I get quite confused on what difference this actually makes for the viewer. I'm aware that IMAX is a large screen experience, but I understand that IMAX takes different forms, e.g. digital and film. Some experiences are amazing and feel like true IMAX, but I keep hearing about others that are not real IMAX and just a way to upsell you an expensive ticket. My question is, should I splash out on the big bucks to go see Nope, a film I'm really looking forward to, or should I just watch it on a normal screening? Also, what are the ways to know if an upcoming film is proper IMAX and therefore worth the extra money? I did try to Google this, but I found a bunch of fairly confusing different answers. Please help me so I can allocate my funds to the experiences that deserve it. That's from Ella. P.S. Absolutely smashing wardrobe choices.
oh, thank you. Oh, well, thank you very much.
Black t-shirt today.
Well, I hope you like my paisley denim shirt.
Yeah.
James, I'm going to hand this question entirely over to you because this is much more your domain than mine.
Okay, so annoyingly, there isn't a clean answer for this. IMAX are one company, but they've not standardized their IMAX experiences across all of their cinemas. So the easiest way to explain this is IMAX is a company that I think started in the late 60s, but they make cameras, screen technology, and projectors, right? And so for a long time, IMAX was trying to get people to use large format cameras in their films. And for a long time, they could only get people to shoot IMAX for nature documentaries, history films, and other projects, but never fiction films. And the best way to think about IMAX is the biggest misconception is it's not just a bigger screen. It is the fact that in order to experience IMAX, you have to experience it on a larger screen. The effect of IMAX is experienced by going to a larger screen and you have more actual real estate of what you're seeing. So in videography, filmmaking, and photography, we have standards for the sizes of our camera sensors and our film reels. So you will have heard of 35mm film and 65mm film, or Super 8 and Super 16. And the reason we have those standards is that when you attach a lens to that camera, oh, my TV's just gone. That's all right. When you attach a lens to that camera, you know what effect that will have on your shot. So for many, many years, filmmakers shoot on standard size film reels, but one filmmaker would have gone, well, what if I decided to shoot my film on a larger piece of film? I think one of the earliest examples I can think of is Lawrence of Arabia, which was shot on 65mm film.
Wow.
And so you take this massive epic and you go, what if I shoot that on a larger piece of film? Yeah. And you can kind of imagine yourself walking into a gallery, right? Yeah. And if you were to say, okay, there's a painting here of a small pot of flowers that's maybe the size of A4, but next to it is this painting of a ship that's this massive battle sweeping. Yeah. Both paintings equally valid, but one is depicting a battle that is maybe better served on a larger canvas. Yeah. So what that means is when you shoot on a larger piece of film, you're capturing more in the frame and you are getting more vertical resolution for the camera that you shoot it on. When you watch that on a big screen, you are getting a larger experience, but you are seeing a large thing being shot and projected on a large surface. Yeah. That creates the IMAX experience. There are two different types, digital and film. Digital IMAX, I would say take it or leave it. A lot of the Marvel stuff is digital. If you're really interested in the film, you got a bit of extra money, by all means, go and watch it digital IMAX. Always look out for shot on IMAX film. That is when you've got someone shooting on IMAX film, and if you're lucky, you will get it projected in IMAX film. That, to me, is the gold standard. If you're interested in a film and it's shot on IMAX film, I genuinely believe you are missing out on the full film experience. Digital IMAX, take it or leave it.
So, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I did try to really blitz through the history of IMAX.
That was wonderful. So, like, obviously, Christopher Nolan films is an
yes,
example.
Sorry.
But going back to Nope, is that shot on IMAX film?
Nope, as far as I'm aware, has been shot on IMAX film. It is also, the DOP for that is Hoyt van Hoytma, who's done all of Nolan's films. So he is like the go-to IMAX cinematographer who's done Tenet, Interstellar, Dunkirk, which have all been some of the most amazing IMAX presentations out there. Yeah, so sorry, they were all documentaries and nature historical films until as we've mentioned on the show, Christopher Nolan in 2008's The Dark Knight did his opening sequence and a bunch of exteriors in IMAX, which was rare because IMAX cameras are huge. They are so big and so unruly that you cannot shoot dialogue with them because they're so loud and the fan spins so much that you actually can't hear what people are saying, so you have to redub your audio. And it's not practical if you were shooting a scene between me and you to have these two massive IMAX cameras here. That would actually affect your blocking, and it's just not practical to do that. Plus, it's expensive. But The Dark Knight comes out, becomes the success that it is, and from that you get Star Trek being shot with sequences on IMAX, Transformers, and from that, like a load of Marvel projects, and it just became this proof of concept for what it meant to see something on a large screen experience. And that has kind of been, and every one of Nolan's films has kind of been a proof of concept for that. It is really confusing because
I cannot believe you've been able just to reel that off just like that, just like off the top of your head.
I know. I know, because this is what's really annoying. Because people ask me about IMAX stuff. There's an IMAX cinema near me which says IMAX on it, and it's a licensed IMAX cinema, but it's not true IMAX. It's good for digital IMAX, but it doesn't have IMAX film.
That is okay.
So it's not the real experience.
Okay.
I've been like at the pub being like, this is what it really is.
So to answer the email from,
if you're really interested in, this is from Ella.
So to answer Ella's question, does she fork out and go to see it at the?
If you're interested in it,
proper IMAX.
Yes, this should be IMAX film experience. I also saw that IMAX featurette. Looks great. But digital IMAX, most of the Marvel stuff, unless you really are like thinking this would be better on the big screen experience, save your money.
Just one thing to add, you know, you talked about like them being massive and the fans are very noisy.
Yes.
I remember watching a thing recently with Ewan McGregor where he said that the technology that George Lucas was dealing with in Attack of the Clones was so new that the processors, whatever, were these machines that they had to deal with it for the green screens were so loud and so like big and industrious, like in this little tent, that they realized afterwards. No, the hum that came from them was the same pitch or frequency as the human voice. So all the dialogue they had filmed, you could hear it.
Wow.
So I think they said that Attack of the Clones was one of the first films to have all of its dialogue done entirely in post-production. All the dialogue is ADR.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Or maybe the first Star Wars or the first English language film. I'm not sure, but like that's all of the dialogue has been redone. So imagine that months and months of calling people back to the studio in little booths to be like, and now you set your line is you've got to sync it up with your thing on the screen. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Dune, interestingly enough, was not shot on IMAX, but it was shot on 35mm, which they then re-exposed onto a large format film and then took it back into 35mm and represented it. Because Denis Villeneuve did a bunch of IMAX tests and decided that he thought it was too crisp and too sharp, and he wanted something to look more retro and more grainy and filmy.
You got too much time in your hands.
So he basically made his film, scanned it onto actual film, and then rescanned it back digitally. That's money. But anyway, I did read this email and go, hang on, what actually should I say? But it's annoying. It is really confusing. The best thing I'd say is look for shot on IMAX film. If it is like that, you are going to miss out if you don't see it and you're interested in the film. Digital IMAX, take it or leave it. This next one is from Veronica. Hi, I found your podcast recently through TikTok, and it's quickly become something I want to share with all my friends, but also keep it to myself like a little treasured secret. Don't do that. Share it as many people. Spread the word. I was wondering what your thoughts were on the separating the art from the artist debate, and whether or not you ever feel cautious of praising or recommending films that were passed through the hands of problematic people such as Woody Allen, Roman Polanski, or Quentin Tarantino. Would love to hear your thoughts. Best of wishes, Veronica. P.S. In regards to bringing back the food, we all miss it dearly. You could always just order Nando's or KFC for that segment.
Thanks. I literally have a pizza sat in the other room.
Pizza sat in the other room.
That is an incredibly interesting, complex, topical question that I don't think anyone has really culturally, societally found the conclusion to.
And I feel like you can't batch compare different people for different issues.
You've three different people, three different contexts, three different reasons why. I guess, been pulled up on things. I think really, on an ideological point of view, I want to say you should be able to separate art from artists. You know, there are loads of films out there. If we're talking about like a director, let's say, and something bad happened that comes out about them, and we go, well, Woody Allen, for example, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, I know Woody Allen films are called Woody Allen films, and he's in a lot of his films, and he writes a lot of his films, and they are unfilmed Woody Allen, right? But films are still incredibly collaborative pieces of work that hundreds of people work on from start to finish. And it seems a shame to completely bin an entire text just because it's come from a certain artist, right? And it almost gives the artist too much power, right? And the flip side, you should say, is that really, it's like the old idea is of the birth of the reader is the death of the author. Like, once it's been out there, the art is out there, it's almost irrelevant who made it. It's there to exist and be consumed by an audience and find a new meaning.
Yeah.
And, it's a historical fact as well. But you can't just like hide the fact that this film existed, it was made. I think what happens is more that you maybe change your arguments around it. It's tricky. It's tricky.
And also, like, there are currently different reactions to different people's work.
Yes.
For example, I don't think people are putting R. Kelly's music on anymore without a reaction. Right. But I'm pretty confident that Michael Jackson's music plays very loudly in clubs,
right,
radios,
exactly.
and there's not really the same reaction.
Well,
Both very different cases, but there is definitely, I'm not saying one or it's right or wrong to not be played, but there is definitely, this is why I think this question comes up, is some people have been very much erased from the current playback and some people have not.
I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of... The thing about Michael Jackson is, and it's a massive thing. I know we're not going to like, we're not here to do that. We're not here to do that. But I think actually the thing surrounding Michael Jackson is almost like the cultural test for our society about whether or not we accept it. It's like it's been written. It's like we're going to give you one of the most famous people of all time, who has some of the most famous body of work that is incredibly popular, but beloved by millions of people around the world, right?
I'll confidently say that's not a grey area issue for me.
Yeah, right. But then we're also going to bring out this other side that this person might be X. Where do you stand on that? And it has been really interesting in the past. It could be. It depends where you draw the line. 3 years, 10 years, about that conversation around Michael Jackson, and it just goes to show that art and artist, it's not clean cut.
We don't have an answer.
We don't have an answer, but as you can hear us sort of tiptoeing and trying to thread our way through, what I would just say is maybe just is that Veronica?
I guess
just like, you got to just think about how do you feel? I think there'll be a lot, whatever issue it is, there will be a lot of noise about it, and a lot of people telling you, and a lot of people saying about it. Just take like 5 minutes and just think, what do you really feel about it? And then go from there.
Do you remember weeks ago we did best cameos in films? Right. And I told you about the Now, which is the most distracting cameo ever, which is the Donald Trump cameo in Home Alone 2, which is not at the time a distracting cameo, but now you cannot possibly watch that film without being like, oh my God, that's Donald Trump. It almost is like these two different things that meant different things at the time, but now you cannot possibly ignore.
Because these things exist in time, they then take on new meanings.
It can completely change your opinion on just that scene. That's obviously not a whole film, but I can't watch that scene the same way.
No.
Anyway,
I don't have an answer. There you go. That's a sort of...
This one is from Eden. Hello, James and George. Hey. I know it's becoming a common occurrence now, but I just have to say, I found you through TikTok and I've now gone back and watched all the podcasts and now have your notifications on, ready to indulge every Wednesday.
Top
Eden,
to you.
I love
Gold star.
Gold star. I don't particularly have a set question, but more of just a thought and would like to get your opinion.
Okay.
I love a really good horror movie. I know they aren't the greatest cinematic masterpieces, but the Insidious and Conjuring films are great, easy watches when you need a good, scary horror with a well-told story. Sure. Thinking back on them, I don't think we have had many good horror films in recent times. We obviously have films like Hereditary and Get Out, but that's as far as it goes, really. Just wanted to get your thoughts on present-day horror movies as a whole, and whether or not you think it's a dying genre in terms of movie quality as a whole. Keep up the great work, guys. Eden.
Look, we can keep this answer quite short, which is that go and watch Men.
Oh, yes.
Go
Men
and
came
watch
out
Men,
a few weeks ago. That is brilliant.
We've got a spoiler discussion between James and I coming out at some point. James reviewed it, which is on the channel. Just go and watch that. That's a horror film for you. No, I don't think the genre is dying out. I think that's where I can say that's a horror film that came out this year that really I found quite unsettling. Goes a bit bonkers, but very, very interesting.
I would say if you have a horror hunger, please do not be do not think that the short little YouTube horrors that you see on YouTube aren't good because they're on YouTube. Some of them are fantastic. There was that film that actually got a full release called Lights Out. Did you see that? It came from a short where you turn the light on and there's nothing, but you turn the light off and there's a silhouette of a woman standing in the corridor. It eventually got made into a feature film, but so many of these horror concepts start from a 5-minute short. I just saw a great horror short which was about the guy in the box, and it only moves if you're looking at it. It was like the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, but they made that into more of a concept, and it was fantastic. Look, there are some great ones. It Follows is one of my recent favorites. Men, which I've just seen. On Insidious and Conjuring, it's like they just done too many. I think Insidious 1 at the time I think was a really good scare, but it is a bit of a quiet bang film. And I think once you know that that's what's going to happen, you can anticipate when the scares are coming. But if you're struggling, go on YouTube. Amazing. And they'll do 20 on a list for you, and you could just absolutely get terrified and then just need to run away and cry. But yeah, let
us know how you get on. Go and do that, and let us know how scared you get.
And can someone watch Men and just talk about the ending with us? Jesus Christ, the ending of Men.
Nuts, absolutely nuts. But regardless of what you think about the end of the day, you're guaranteed for a very unsettling hour and a half.
Thank you very much for writing into the show. Don't forget, if you want to have your email read on the show, you can do so by writing hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. Writing to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. Okay, as always with Pulp Kitchen, we end with a game. George, we are back by popular demand for our game, which was film antonyms.
Yes.
Okay, and I've got
some people think we were stretching the term antonym. I think it's a game.
It's
an opposite. And it's a game.
It's a game.
Get with it, guys.
Everyone got what we were trying to do.
Yeah. Okay.
If you didn't know, a synonym is another word for something that means the same thing. An antonym is the opposite. So, for example, cold is hot. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to read out the antonyms of films, and it's sort of a quick fire, and you have to tell me what film or TV show I'm talking about. Okay, George. Tell me what these films are based on their antonyms. Ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. The South Woman.
The Northman.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Nothing, Nowhere, Not at All.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Lose You If Me Can't.
Win Me If You... Catch Me If You Can.
Yes.
What?
Lose You If Me Can't.
Whatever.
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch isn't the antonym of lose. Whatever.
Lose can. Large Men.
Large Men. Little Women. God.
Antidote.
Virus. Parasite. No. Antidote. Sickness. Virus. Venom.
Yes.
Venom.
Them.
Us.
Down, Out to the Ground.
Up in the Air.
Monday the 1st.
Friday the 13th.
Pepper.
Pig. No. Salt.
Autumn Workers.
Summer.
No, autumn.
Autumn. Winter.
No. What's the opposite of autumn?
Spring. Awakening. Spring Breakers.
Autumn Workers.
Spring Breakers.
Death of Cake.
A Life of Pi.
The Baritones.
The Sopranos.
White Duck.
Black Bird. Black Box. Black Bird. Black Beauty. White Duck. What's the opposite of a duck?
An ugly duckling.
An ugly...
what's the opposite of a duck?
Swan?
Yes.
Black Swan.
Saving Us Hardly.
Losing You Easily. What is that? Saving Us Hardly.
Killing Them Softly. Human.
Inhuman. Animal. Animals. Nocturnal animals. Beasts. Human. Ape. Planet of the Ape. What? I don't know.
They come from outer space.
Aliens.
Bus passenger.
Bus passenger. Car driver. Car drive.
What's the bus?
What's the opposite? I know the opposite.
What driver?
Passenger. The passenger.
Yeah. What? Yeah. No. It's bus passenger.
Car.
If you're not a passenger, you are
driving. Driver.
Yeah. What's famous?
Just tell me.
Taxi driver. Sword walker.
Taxi is not the opposite of bus.
What? It doesn't matter. Sword walker.
Knife eater.
Walker.
Walker.
If you're not walking, you're
running.
Yeah.
Knife blade runner.
Fixing good.
Breaking Bad.
Women in white.
Men in black.
Kind roads.
Bad. Evil road. Evil what? Evil.
Mean streets. Last one. Day of the Dying Alive.
Night of the Living Dead. Unbelievable.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Pulp Kitchen. Don't forget that we post new episodes of the show every single Wednesday.
We have plenty of stuff coming out on the channel, so I'm still trying to recover from James's
Annoying
game. Oh my god, I can tell you wrote those. We have loads of stuff coming out on the channel throughout the week. Like, it's not just the episodes. TikTok, Instagram, extra stuff coming out as well. Just stay tuned and keep your emails coming and give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a star rating, give us all that.
Go to the YouTube, give us a subscribe, drop us a like, and we'll be back next week with another episode.
Thank you so much.